everyone, my name is Amantlan Sala and I'd like to officially welcome you to the Active and Human podcast. Join me as I take you through a journey of storytelling that recognizes the disruptive impact that the Gen Z have made in the various spaces that they have plunged into. These will be moments where we appreciate impact, influence, and hard work. So sit down and stay tuned.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm happy.
Oh my god, I'm so excited that you're here with me today.
Me too. It's finally happening.
Honestly, after like so many delays and just, trying to figure out, weren't you tired? Like I kept on sending so many emails to kind of like, oh, okay, we'll do this next week and then next week and then at least the next week became this week.
What matters is that it's happening already and we're finally here doing production. So yeah.
I'm so happy that you're here. Anyway, you know what? I would have actually got into having you introduce yourself, but I feel like it's much more fun if I just tell people how I met you, because I feel like it's low-key cute.
Okay,
it's not cute, it's scary. Okay, it was cute. It might be cute to them, but for me it's like a bit scary, because I remember that time I was talking to Gaitla. And we were sitting at the exec at school, and then I was telling him about this whole podcast thing. He was so excited, and if you know Get, you know that he's just always hands-on with people. Like, so he'll be like, okay, you want to do this? I know this person who can do this. He's just that type of person.
Yeah.
And then when I was just telling him the list of people who are coming, he's like, oh, you should see Tadiwa. And I was like, who's Tadiwa? And he's like, oh, this other cool girl. She rides motorbikes. Okay, wait, I shouldn't have said that because I wanted you to like introduce yourself.
Okay.
But anyway, it's okay. Yeah, he was like, you're so cool and stuff. And then I was like, so where's Tadiwa? And then he pointed at you.
Yeah.
And that day, you had like this resting. You had like this resting.
Because I was like,
face.
Okay, so
like,
who is this?
Not in the mood. And I was so scared.
What does she want?
I was with my friend and I was like, should I even go? She was like, she can fight. I saw you look like you could throw hands. But then I was like, you know what? I feel like already the fact that you just in an industry that's already male dominated, you had to have that aura that I just can't do it like that.
That tough face,
Exactly. So I was like, maybe she's not like that. And then I remember we sat down, I was like, hi Heather, and then that's how you spoke. I was like, oh, okay, she's not dangerous. She's cool. But I'm not gonna take your intro away from you. I'm going to let you introduce yourself to the people and just tell them what you do and who you are.
Okay guys, so I'm known as Tads. My full name is Tadiwa Tafa, and I am a motocross, off-road / cross-country racer. As I said, you're looking at the 2022 cross-country ladies champion. Motorbikes, I ride a two-wheeler. I've been doing that for 7 years now. And the first question that people always ask me is like, aren't you scared that you're gonna fall?
I have that question. I literally have, you know what, like I literally had that question. I was like, I need to ask her, isn't she scared? Yeah.
Well, this sport is a dangerous sport, but you can always do it the safe way. I was interested in it because it's different from netball, swimming, running, I was like, I'm willing to try different things. So I wanted to try something different, and I was like, I like the sport.
Yeah, and it honestly does suit you.
Thanks.
So anyway, I want to hear all about that. Like I want to hear how you started, why you decided to ride motorbikes of all things. I have so many questions for you. But before that, I have a few gentle questions over here. That's surprise questions. It's nothing hectic.
Okay.
Honestly speaking, it's nothing hectic. It's just so that the viewers, the audience, get to know you a bit better. Know what exactly you're about. You feel me?
All right.
So I'm going to pick a paper and then I'm going to ask you the question and then you're going to give me an answer. You can feel free to ask me the question, girl. I'm an open book. So I don't know about you, but I'm an open book.
All right.
But this is cool. Okay, this is cool. What's the most embarrassing moment from your teens, like your teenage?
Embarrassing
that
moment
when you just think of, you're like, ish, why did I do that? I'm sure everyone has that moment, so don't even lie.
Embarrassing moment? To be honest, the embarrassing moment is for me, is something that happens naturally and you don't have anything to do with it. It's probably the time when I was in primary. I was one of those girls that started my period early, and I had stained myself, but I didn't know about it. So people were looking at me weirdly like, ew, well, why did that girl do this to herself? And at the times, we were really uneducated about menstruation and how it works. how long you should change a pad and stuff like that. So for me, that's what it was.
I went through that. It's so weird. I feel like everyone.
I feel like almost every girl has gone through it.
And it's such a bad moment because you're like, oh my god, do people see me as disgusting? Now you just have all these questions.
Yeah.
So I totally get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. I'm just scared we're gonna ask you personal questions. So relaxed. Oh, okay. This is cool. Have you ever experienced a culture shock? Like where you just somehow get to know the cultures or tradition of a certain culture and then you just so shocked that this is what they do?
Not really. Not really. Not that I remember anything. Nothing that I know of that's different because we learned about every culture in primary. We learned in depth what each culture, does. So nothing really was shocking to me that you guys actually do that. Nah.
You know what? I was actually shocked when I was learning about it, about how like I think I don't know if it's Soto, where they take the boys and take them to the mountains. And just
okay.
Me,
So
take me where?
it's not really a culture. It's a religion. Muslims. They have circumcision for ladies.
Why would you do that? Okay. This is so much trauma right here. There's so much. Like, why? What? How? It's literally the 5WH. Why?
Circumcision in the sense that they circumcise the ladies. They can't have sex at all once they're circumcised.
Why would you do that? I mean, it's not that I like it, but like, why would you do that?
I don't know, but adolescence. It's called adolescence
so much trauma.
or something.
Like, why would you
Maybe
do that?
it's not the Muslim religion, but it's some religion.
But I've heard of like female circumcision. Like,
yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
What are you cutting? Like, there's so many questions. That
Okay. It's the cutting and the stitching up, the closing up.
Why would you do that? But can they pee?
I don't know.
If you do that, tell us something. Like, why would you do that? Like, I really want to know. I'm so interested right now.
But yeah, it's something I learned way back. Yeah.
It's definitely a shocker.
Yeah.
Let's see this one. What's your guilty pleasure? What's your guilty pleasure?
What is yours?
Girl, I asked the questions, you answered.
Yeah, but like, I want to see how I should structure my answer. So what's yours?
My guilty pleasure? Is it even a guilty pleasure? What's my guilty pleasure? I don't know. Do I have a guilty pleasure? I don't think I have one. Does everyone have to have a guilty pleasure? Probably.
Okay.
I don't think I have one. You know why I don't think I have one? Because I'm not someone who's like always consistent with certain things. Like I'll do something, it's only for like a period.
True.
And then I'll stop and then like...
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm like not the type of person to be consistent with certain things. Like maybe a certain month I'll be having this.
Different things.
Yeah, like
exactly.
I feel like with me, I'm just always on this journey of self-discovery. So like I just do this and this and
Same thing. I don't, because sticking to one thing is like you're not being adventurous, you're not being open-minded.
Like you remain the same person forever, and
you see, boring. You're not allowing yourself to experience many other things. So yeah.
Okay, so this is the second last question. I don't know. I feel like last questions always tend to have a shocker, So hopefully that one doesn't.
Oof.
What's the best piece of advice you have ever given? Not been given, but ever given someone where you felt like
Okay. Best advice, it probably has to do with self-esteem, self-confidence, and whatever.
Yeah, because like you relate to your journey as well.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I really feel like the younger version of you could have heard this, so let me just give it to someone else.
One thing is that people will always have something to say, whether good or bad. So then you're gonna have to learn how to use selective hearing and not let certain things get to you or affect you, or not make you think so much of yourself or think down of yourself. So when I mean everybody, I mean everyone will have something to say. So don't let anybody get to you or ruin your self-confidence. You should always be confident about yourself and what you do and how you look. Honestly, most importantly, a lot of people are insecure about how they look. That should go away because God built you like that, and you should be happy. You should, show your blessings.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think with me, I once had like this conversation with a friend of mine, and they were also wanting to start. I don't know. I should call it a business just so that you could, we could relate it. But he was telling me about how difficult it is to just implement this and do this. And then I remember I just gave a random advice, and I was like, because obviously the end product of starting something is money,
Yeah.
And I was like, don't think about the money. If you really want this to be successful, don't think about the money. And he was like, what do you mean? The end product is literally making money. And then I remember when we got home, I was like, wait, no, I was spitting facts, because I felt like if you focus on making like the end product, you won't enjoy the journey. And if you don't enjoy the journey, then you won't even reach the end product. Because the whole time you're going to be stressed, oh, I should do this, I should find new ways to do this.
That's why you need to do something you're passionate about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the last one, let's see. What old people things do you do?
What old people do? Knitting. I knit.
Girl, you knit?
Like when I'm bored.
Wait, no. Tell me how a girl who does like one of the most dangerous sports in the world knits. Like, make it make sense.
Okay, if it's not knitting, it's baking. Old people bake. They like baking, but knitting. I used to knit a lot. I don't do it as much now because it's like I don't really have much of the free time. When I have free time, I use it to rest. But knitting, if there's something I would do, if there's something I would do other than doing any other my hobbies, it would be knitting, making. I really want to learn how to make a jersey or a scarf.
So wait, so far
or
what do
a
you know how to
blanket.
make?
I don't know how to do
like
anything. I just
like
know how to
shapes and
crochet.
stuff?
I just know how to knit. Like, I know how to knit a small piece of something. And I could make those multiple pieces and then stick them together to make a whole blanket. You see? So
I did not expect that.
we all have those things, I'm sure. Don't you have something that old people do?
Is back pain a thing? But do I have something that I don't know? I don't think reading is. Like, this is the thing, I have such
is a thing for everyone, really.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any old people. You know what? This is actually a controversial one, because my friends are always telling me that, oh my God, you follow such a boring lifestyle. It's like you're an old person. So they probably are watching this and they're like, what does she mean? But
what is she
I don't
talking
see
about?
it, man. I don't see it. I mean, if you think I have like old people things, you can comment down below and expose me. But I feel like, I feel like my life is pretty simple. My life is pretty simple, but it shouldn't be misjudged for old people lives.
Alright.
Yeah.
Period.
Okay, so we're done with the icebreaker questions. I think they were hectic.
Another one.
Yeah,
they were actually fun,
yeah,
interesting.
Chilled. Okay, so I want to know about your career. Obviously, what do you study at the University of Botswana?
I study business information systems.
And that's like way different from what you do, like in motorbike. I want to understand something. How come, how like sometimes our elders kind of tell us to do whatever hobbies we assign ourselves to should be in line with
what we're going to study.
Why did you just decide that, okay, you know what, because obviously you started bike riding first, right? And then you decided to choose your course. So how did that happen? Like, why did you just decide to do things which have like different dimensions?
So in high school, I was really good in ICT. I got a really good mark for my IG exam, and it was like, this could be easy in university because it's still ICT. It's just that it's more in depth, So I wanted something. I don't want everything to always be along with riding. I want, like I said, I want to try different things, right? So if I'm going to take riding as my career and then it fails, I have a backup and do something also I'm good at. I may not be passionate about because I don't like sitting and reading books. I'm more of an outdoor person, honestly speaking.
And then again, I feel like this generation of ours is just kind of like taught themselves that, you know what, I probably have a lifespan of 60 years and I'm not going to spend it doing the same thing. And that's one like dynamic change from the previous generations, because they're like, oh, if you have a degree, you've got it. Like that's your definition of success. So I think it's really refreshing and fun to meet people who are like, okay, at school I'm going to focus on this, but outside school I have a different version of me that I'm willing to unlock. You get me?
Yeah.
So how did it start with like bike riding? Like you woke up and was like, I need a bike. Like just explain the process.
Like I said, I'm an outdoor person. I'd always go to the farm with my dad or my grandmother. And at the farm, there was always this small quad that would ride. My dad would let me, steer and control or whatever, the accelerator, and he'll be at the back, just for safety purposes, because I think I was below 10, 6, 7, around there. So for a while, it was just that. And then my dad also used to ride quad bikes, and he'd always take us to the track where there are other people with other bikes. And I was like, I really, really like this. And 2015 is when he decided, okay, I'm going to get you guys a bike. Well, it started with a small two-wheeler that my brother and I were sharing, and then we kept upgrading and upgrading. But obviously now we have our own bikes. Separate bikes. So it all started at the farm. The influence of my dad, really.
It's so weird how like probably a life-changing moment can be influenced by such a small situation or an event. Like I mean, you just decided that okay, I have a passion for bikes, and it would just be that moment when your dad let you sit on like a two-seater. You see, like I felt like that's so fascinating. But like, tell me about like when you started professionally, doing it now, going for the competitions. How did it all start? Like, what was your like journey like?
Okay, so obviously before you race, you need to, learn how to, use the bike. So 2015, 2016, 2017, I had 2 different bikes in that period of time. And then in 2018, that's when I got my first proper bike that I could start using to race. And that's when I started racing in 2018. So that's when things got even more better, because it's like I always wondered like, what's fun about this? What's fun about competing? You get this really nice adrenaline rush, and it feels so good. Yeah.
That's crazy. So basically, it's like you used to ride alone, and then with competition, it was like you had like something to actually drive it. You're like, okay, fine, I'm going to be with other people, and they're obviously so good and stuff. And I think that's what I also want to talk about. Like, obviously, you were in that comfort zone where you're like, okay, I'm pretty good, I'm pretty decent. And then you're getting into the space where you see all these other people who you probably think that they're better than you. How do you deal with that pressure? Like, learning to understand that, okay, I am also good. I am also worthy to be in the space. Like, how do you just maneuver around that?
So the sport is a male-dominant sport, and there are not many female in the sport in Botswana, let me say. It's just a few of us, let me say five or less of us. So then you always get this pressure of you must perform the same way the males are performing, and obviously they're performing way better than us. We as ladies, we are capable of it, we really are, but for me, I feel like my safety comes first, right? So if I'm going to do the sport, I want to do it the safe way, right? And obviously the sport, you do break bones, you fall, a lot of things happen in the sport, but if I want to participate in the sport, I want to do it at my own pace. I don't want to be pushed to do things that I don't want to do. So how I handle it, I just have this determined and really, really tough mindset that don't listen to what people are going to say. If they're going to tell you go faster, no, do it at your own pace. And as you get the hold of it and as you learn, you do better, you'll perform better, and maybe one day you'll catch up to the boys and be as fast as them.
I also want to understand, like, being in a male dominated industry, like having to get into a space where you don't see people of your gender there. Like, how do you just like, what was I saying? So being in a space where you're entering a male dominated industry, is there some sort of like unfairness that you went through, like where maybe it was it was just evident that here there's a certain level of classification that you were made to remember that at the end of the day, as much as you're a background and yes, you're doing all these great things by being one of the few women that are in this industry, you're still a girl. Have there like been those moments, and how do you deal with them?
There've been so there is a certain category that you have to reach for you to be in a ladies category. So say if you're below let me say 85cc, that depends on the speed of your bike and how old you are. If you're below 85cc, then you're going to be competing with the boys, and if you get number last, you get number last. Nah? So in in the ladies category, like I said in Botswana, there are not many ladies, right? So it possibly could be me the only person racing at the time. I will be racing against the boys, but later I will get a prize to say this is the first lady that won the race. So back then it wasn't like that. I didn't quite understand why this rule came up that you have to be a certain age or you have to have a certain bike for you to be getting such trophies or whatever. And nobody would come and say, wow, you did a good job. Well, besides my dad and besides my brother, people would tell me, you need to go faster so you can pass these boys, you get me? And it's like, it's quite unfair for people to see me as one of the boys. Why can't they see me as a special person in the sport?
Just put gender aside.
Put gender aside and see me, you know, and applaud me for my hard work. At least, you know, I'm here. Other girls, let me tell you, are really, really scared to compete with the boys because there's like, they're gonna jump on me, they're gonna fall on me, they're gonna crash on me and whatever. At least I found the confidence to get on the track and race with them. So I thought then they needed to just applaud me for my hard work and not tell me to go faster. You get me?
You know, I think obviously when you were going through that moment, you're like, okay, here I'm trying to put my level best into this.
True.
I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do this. There were obviously those moments where you're like, okay, you know what? I don't care about them now. Let it be about me. How did you get to that moment where you're like, I need to also thank myself for the effort I'm putting in? Like, I need to also acknowledge myself for everything that I'm doing.
Really, this all started when I got into the ladies category, right? And then I started seeing her, okay, here, Chads, you're really, really working hard. You know, other people out there, they're looking up to you. Other young girls are looking up to you, you know. They're like, wow, this girl is brave. And then that's when I started building that mindset of, you know what, you need to start focusing on yourself and not caring what people are going to say, right? And then that's when I started, you know, sticking to myself. You know, it's like a bubble surrounding myself and no toxic or
like
bad energy, you know?
Outside,
True. So no toxic or bad energy could get to me. So that was then when I got into the ladies category, when I was now selected to be in Team Botswana to go participate in Zimbabwe for the MX of African nations. This is where like most African nations come now and you guys compete as countries. So yeah, that's when it all started, when I realized that you need to put aside this bad energy and focus on yourself.
You know what, like obviously you're being exposed to so many competitions, you're going to this place and this place, and that means you're attracting people's eyes. Like you have an like a more bigger audience that like pays attention to you. So how do you handle that pressure? Because obviously if you're this young girl who's into this space, is doing so many incredible things, people now look up to you as a role model, and at the end of the day you're still a teenager as well, you know, you're still figuring out yourself. So how do you kind of like maintain that balance? You're like, okay, I get it, you guys like me, you guys think I'm cool, but I'm also a human, and I, you know, how do you just stop yourself from like succumbing to that pressure?
Honestly speaking, I've always wanted to be looked up to ever since I was young, right? So it's a dream come true. Like I planned it out on how I'm going to do certain things. And obviously as a teenager, you do mistakes, you're influenced into bad things. And that is something that the world or the people around you, your community, your society should understand, that nobody is perfect. Yes, I'm going to be a role model, but I'm going to make mistakes there and there, right? So that's one thing I've accepted. Mistakes happen for you to learn from them. It's a lesson and it's a lifetime lesson. So the pressure is not really that much. I guess I'm handling it well now because I told myself, right, you're not perfect. You're not perfect all the time. People will look up to you for certain things and not want to be exactly you. You know, they don't want to be a photocopy of you, right? So I think most people who are looking up to me are not looking at my mistakes or whatever. They're looking at what I'm achieving, my confidence, my brave self, you know, the toughness I have within me.
That's so cool. You know what, one thing I've realized about women who have just started getting into an industry that is male dominated is that the society tends to think that just because they're doing things that are classified as men things or boy things, they also identify as maybe lesbian. Like you'd find a lady who's into football, who plays football, so passionate about that, and people be like, oh, she must be lesbian. Like, have those narratives ever affected you? Have people ever like also thought that, oh, since she's into bikes and girls don't usually get into bikes, she must be part of the LGBTQ community?
Okay, so with that, obviously people would look at me, they used to call me a man. They're like, yo, it's a woman outside, but it's a man inside. And for me, I guess I didn't care much. It's just them telling me that I'm stronger than them.
Yeah.
You get me? If it was other boys telling me that, it's like, yeah, sure, I'm bigger than you then, if that's the case.
Isn't that weird though? Like how maybe
It is.
like how they could be like, oh, you're such a man, you're supposed to be happy. Like, excuse me, I'm such a man.
Obviously, you know what? This is where you selective hearing and don't let things get to you. And actually, they will say it in a different way, but the way you understand it and accept it should be in a different way, to a different concept or whatever. In the sense that if someone says, oh, you have muscles, to insult you, to say that you're too big of a woman, then you should accept it and say, yeah, I have muscles, at least I'm stronger than you. You get me, I'm tougher than you. So yeah, obviously people would come up and say, hey, she acts like a boy, she's into bikes, she's dirty, because biking is really, really dirty. You know, it's mud and everything. So obviously people were saying that, and I didn't really, at back I did care much until I said, you know what, bad energy, I don't want it. So it wasn't a big of an issue. It didn't really affect me as much. Yes, I'd cry there and there, but I'm grown now. I now understand what it is now to be in such a sport and what people are gonna say. So I don't really care that much anymore.
Okay, so I just want to know, you've just talked about like dealing with your emotions like so many times, because there were instances where like you were just challenged to not listen to what people say. I just want to understand like the overall impact this whole career thing or this whole bike riding thing has had on your mental health.
It has had a really big impact, honestly speaking. It has matured me, really. It really built me to become a proper teenager. So once you have that correct mentality, you would know that you'd be a responsible person when you grow up. So let me say it did change me a lot. It did change me to a better person, let me say. Not to a bad person, to a really, really better person.
So a wrap-up question, because we've definitely talked about so many things. What advice would you give to your younger self who is about to get into this industry and had no clue that this whole thing of being a boy and a girl, you know, these whole rules that you're not aware of? What like advice would you just give to yourself?
My advice to my younger self would have been that you need to learn how to block negative comments from getting into your head. You need to not, stop overthinking it, and don't look down on yourself, and don't lose your confidence, because that's one thing I wasn't prepared for. It came to me and it just so that's the advice I give to myself. Like, think about your stuff, stay positive all the time.
I was talking to Bridget yesterday, and we were talking about how it's so important to affirm yourself, like have this conversation with yourself, because sometimes this negative energy just has an impact on you if you don't have a conversation with yourself. Like, wake up in the morning and be like, okay, today I'm going to do this and this and this, and I'm just going to complete everything that I've put my mindset to. So I think just positive affirmations and manifesting good energy. Like, don't be shy to just sit down and be like, okay, in the next coming like 2-3 years, I'm going to be at this place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I'm so happy that we've had this conversation.
Thank you.
Like, we just unpacked everything that I wanted us to talk about. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for going through this journey with us. This is another episode where we're able to have a complex conversation and address so many things that I feel like people don't talk about. I mean, you're this young and you're just making waves in an industry that is male dominated. So yeah, I think this is a wrap of the episode. Thank you so much. Bye.